Friends of the channel, I am Juan de Dios Collado, and in these moments of reflection and analysis in the face of the dangerous situation of social division that our American nation is experiencing, this country that has welcomed so many people and communities from all over the world, I want to convey a message of unification that is born from the love that I feel as a citizen for this territory, its culture, and its beautiful people. It is understandable that we are all equal before the eyes of God, but also before our Constitution that guarantees us inalienable duties and rights. However, within this society there are multiple cultures, races, creeds, thoughts, and different ideals that make this society wonderful. My case is an example. I am of Dominican roots and I love my native country, but I also strongly love this nation that I have defended with my life and has given me so much. I want to focus my message today precisely on these differences. It is necessary to understand that on the basis of acceptance, tolerance, and respect, this great nation was built by the fathers of the country, even though there were great differences in ideological and political thinking between them that caused great conflicts in the past. It was possible to advance and evolve until this great country was formed, where pride, rational and often irrational passion that led us to destroy ourselves were put aside to make way to the foundation of freedom, equality, and justice on which this American nation is based. It is this example that we must take today, that of the patriotic past of this nation that managed to build the great experiment called the United States of America, leaving differences aside and finding common ground in order to face the enemies and threats of that time. Because today I see with supreme anguish the great intolerance and unleashed division in which society is submerged, with slogans that are exclaimed and supposed hatred and racism of an extreme right, but also of hatred and racism of a radicalized left. As a citizen of this country, I have always welcomed the difference in ideas and thoughts in the nation's political culture between the left and right, or between Democrats and Republicans. Because as a defender of a Republican democracy, I know that these differences, as well as things that unite us, support a good political health for the state. However, in those commonalities, I see that we all want the same thing, to help the American people in all areas and always emerge as a great nation. I myself have served in the U.S. Navy with a great devotion to serve this nation, with the purpose of helping others. But as a citizen, I have my differences based on the realities and injustice that I experience daily. For example, for me it is frustrating and painful to see how veterans and civilians of legal age who have given everything for this country, their strength, their youth, their health, and their blood to defend and move forward with this land are left aside, forgotten, or ignored by the state in their multiple needs for food, housing, health insurance, etc. But my frustration increases even more when I observe that people who enter the country illegally, surely in need of a better life, which I am not critical of since I am a migrant myself. I understand them very well because in this country I found my fulfillment as a human being. However, I see that the current state strives to provide them with all the necessary humanitarian assistance, receiving hotel services, medical assistance, labor assistance, telephone devices, etc. And I make a clarification here. I do not intend with this to criticize what is humane and commendable. But what of the legal citizen, of our compatriots? What about the veterans? What about the senior community who have given everything and who have none of this? They also cry for humanitarian and social assistance, but many live on our streets or unprotected asylums, turning to homeless, harassed by a political state that forgot that they served and once shed their blood in foreign lands for this nation. What about retired seniors with limited income, no ability to work, and truly just a little bit above the poverty level? Who pays for their rent and medicines when they have to decide between eating or buying their medicines? I say this from experience because I have had the opportunity to work with that community, and unfortunately the political bureaucracy wants to drive away honest agents who care for this needed population and clear the way for agencies that constantly abuse and deceive this vulnerable population. Gentlemen, there are multiple injustices that I could list and the differences that I may have as a citizen in political thoughts to other ideas and current government. But even if they are objective and rooted in reason, effusive passion can sometimes engage us in meaningless debates, hatreds, and confrontations like the ones we now face between the left and the right and vice versa. But we are forgetting that we have common enemies that take advantage of these troubled internal rivers of confrontation, that they are great global threats and that they represent political ideologies alien to our culture that want to expand in our society and thus destroy it as we know it. Threats that even come from within our own news media, that are part or perhaps sadly are manipulated by systems that seek to further increase the national division with biased or often fictitious information promoted by powers or foreign forces behind smoke screens. Who is behind all of this? Who pushes these strong campaigns with millions of dollars invested in malicious mechanisms to cause more chaos and division? Who shakes the anthill? It is also important to highlight that only Americans can destroy each other to lead to the disintegration of this nation. Abraham Lincoln said, "America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroy ourselves." Brothers and sisters, talking about unity can seem like a utopia to some these days, because the forces that divide us are deep and real. But this is not new. Our Republican history has had constant struggle between the ideal that we are all created equal with faith and the harsh reality of racism, fear, the demonization of one another, and the external ideologies that have separated and confronted us for a long time. It hurts me when minorities, whether immigrants or African American, are sold a falsehood that whites are to blame for their misfortune, since these excuses will only keep them in their current state, which is what those who apparently have empathy for them actually want. This also did not come by chance, but by the same groups that want to divide us and eventually destroy this nation, which is a symbol of freedom. But as American society, we have faced these multiple challenges. We are not perfect because nobody is. However, we continue to learn from our mistakes, but understanding and accepting that the differences, no matter how gigantic they are, make us stronger. Brothers and sisters, I beg you from the bottom of my heart to please continue to uphold the ideals and values on which this American Union was founded, but with a vision of brotherhood beyond our differences. Is unity possible without differences? Of course it is possible. A sample of that is our history. A few days ago, as a country, we celebrated one more anniversary, our 4th of July, a day of American independence from the British Empire, a date that led me to reflect on the unparalleled generosity and compassion that as a society and country we have shown together, without even thinking about the limitations of political and ideological barriers, helping millions of people to get out of poverty all over the planet, delivering billions of dollars in humanitarian aid to so many people in need to save their lives. As Americans, together we have helped countless nations during the past 244 years as a Republican nation to help protect the lives and liberty of their people. History proves it. Faith and reason have shown us and guided us towards the path of unity. It is necessary that we no longer see each other as adversity, but as brothers and sisters. From the respect that dignity grants us, We can join forces because without unity there is no peace, there is no justice, there is no progress, there is no inner tranquility, there is no common defense, there is no general welfare, there is no freedom, there is no nation, only a state of apocalyptic chaos. We must protect our political system, our democracy, our identity of being the states that came together for the same purpose. We need to regain trust among ourselves. For democracy and the unity in it will not work if we believe that people who disagree with us are motivated only by malice, or that our political opponents are unpatriotic. The unit stops working if we are not willing to compromise, or even that when basic facts are debated, we listen only to those who agree with our own opinions or arguments. We ourselves destroy unity when we only give attention to the most extreme opinions that carries our most angry positions. But it also stops working when people feel that their opinions are not important and are not heard. I am convinced as a citizen of this nation that despite so many problems that we have had, I believe and share that together we have built the strongest, freest, and most prosperous nation that this planet has ever known. That we are also and must be an example for all the nations, above all for a people of Latin America. Since as a nation, we have always turned every crisis we face and every problem into an opportunity for progress, evolution, and possibilities. Brothers and sisters, it is time to really stop seeing each other as enemies and start seeing each other for who we really are. Fellow Americans with our hearts and our hands out of love for our country. Perhaps we cannot change some differences that are deep, but that happens even in our own families. But even so, we can always see each other face to face for what we are, as a family. Let us also take the family as an example. Those traditional family that founded these lands to forgive and be forgiven with nobility and maturity, so we can change how divided we have been in recent years. Putting this country on track towards a unification process that is made simple by just making the decision to want to do it out of love for our neighbor. I am Juan de Dios Collado, a U.S. Navy veteran, a citizen of the United States of America, the father of a beautiful American family, and this is my message of love and unity for all my fellow Americans.